I call to order the meeting of the Santa Barbara Unified School District's Board of Education for Tuesday, May 22nd, 2018, and we will begin by rising to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Matsuoka.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Buenas tardes. Tenemos disponibles servicios de interpretación al español para todos aquellos que deseen escuchar la reunión en español. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. There are headsets for the hearing impaired, and they are available over here behind us. So please indicate anyone needs a headset. All right, thank you. I will now move forward to announcement of closed session. Specifically, item number C4. The first one is San Marcos High School interim principal, Dr. Richard Ruenhag. There was a motion made by Ms. Parker and a second by Mr. Paredes Ulloa to place him as interim principal. All those in favor were Ms. Parker, Ms. Sims-Moten, Ms. Paredes Ulloa, and Dr. Reed. Opposed, Ms. Capps. We also have a second item, Dos Pueblos High School interim assistant principal, Ms. Diana Hemsley. The motion was made by Ms. Parker, seconded made by Dr. Reed. It was passed unanimously. And then we have a third item, a Washington Elementary School principal, Christina Jagir. Motion made by Ms. Parker, seconded by Ms. Sims-Moten, and that passed unanimously as well. Moving forward to our superintendent's report. Mr. Matsuoka.
So we have 3 management decisions from the last school board meeting to now introduce to the board and to the community. And so we'll begin with Mr. Steve Vizzolini. And I know he's here. There he is. I'm going to invite Steve to come up to the podium. So Steve has been voted in as the Director of Facilities and Modernization. He is well known in our district because he's worked here his entire career as our facilities, supervisor?
Yes.
And so he probably knows our buildings better than any human being in Santa Barbara. He knows where every little aspect of it. So his appointment as Director of Facilities Modernization is huge for our district because he knows us, we know him, and he's going to be a great leader for a really important part of our district program. So let's welcome Mr. Vizzolini to this role.
Thank you and good evening. Thank you, Board, for your confidence in appointing me to this position. The Director of Facilities and Modernization has a couple of key components to it. As the Director has direct oversight over the Maintenance and Facilities Operations Department, very important department that's main focus is to support our schools. And my emphasis is to continue that and improve upon our relationship with school sites and make sure that we support technology in the classroom as well as maintain our infrastructure. The other important facet of my new role is modernization, which is, as many of us know, the bond measures in our district are very important right now. My plan is to continue with the momentum that my predecessor has started and make sure that we have plenty of our projects in line to be designed, get out of design on time, get the projects completed on time and on budget.
All right, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Kathy Serrano to come up to the podium. And Kathy has worked in our district for decades.
8 years.
Oh, only 8 years. Almost a decade. Seems like a long time. And Kathy is currently a teacher at Monroe Elementary, and the board should also know that she was a teacher in Adelante. And so is a real fan of dual immersion. She is biliterate, bicultural, and we think this place in the after-school program is going to be really significant for her and for us. It is extended learning. It goes beyond the school day. It also extends into preschool. So we're really excited to have Kathy join that team and continue to grow the program. So
Thank
welcome,
you.
Ms. Serrano.
Thank you. So I want to thank the board for allowing me or giving me this opportunity to be one of the leaders of the after-school and expanded learning program. Like Mr. Matsuoka said, I've been part of the district since 1990 when I first migrated to Santa Barbara at the age of 8. So I think that's where I was a student. I am excited to work with such an amazing staff that has very kindly welcomed me already, and I know that I have big shoes to fill, but I'm confident that with the support of my predecessor, Debbie Badger, and with the mentorship of Sierra and Raul and the district, that we will continue to expand and support the students in the after-school program, and I'm excited and I'm thankful for this opportunity to continue to serve the Santa Barbara community.
And we have a third person to recognize among us, although she's well-known because she served our district as an administrator for quite a while. And so it's with pleasure we introduce the next principal of Santa Barbara High School, Dr. Elise Simmons.
So, good evening, board, cabinet, and community and family. It's great enthusiasm that I accept the honor of serving as the next principal of Santa Barbara High School, and it really is an honor. I've served the district for 19 years as a teacher on special assignment, as an administrator, assistant principal at Santa Barbara High, and as the current alternative education principal for the last 3 years. And with that, I really have developed my core values, and I'm excited to bring them back to Santa Barbara High School. And I've also been really excited to bring the knowledge that I've gained for the last 3 years serving as the alternative ed principal. And I've been visiting Santa Barbara High for the last couple weeks or so, and it's like I really am coming home again. I was there for 4 years, and just all the familiar faces, the spirit, the enthusiasm, the love for education and doing what's right for kids and by kids. And I know with my expertise in curriculum and instruction and assessment, I will continue to work with and lead the staff there towards the goal that they've been working on for the last 3 years, which is really developing a common instructional model. I'm so nervous. I'm really excited because they've really been working hard on developing a common instructional model, and that to me is where my heart's at. But I'm also excited to come back to a comprehensive high school site where all of the extracurricular, the extended learning opportunities, I'm a student athlete, and so all the clubs, I mean, it's amazing what Santa Barbara High has to offer to the families and the community of Santa Barbara. And I'm excited to lead that. And so, again, I want to just send my appreciation for the confidence that you have shown me by accepting me as the next principal. And again, I look forward to being part of this exceptional school district. I'm year 19, so we're headed to second decade. And sorry, I can do math, I promise. I'm a history teacher, but math is still important for everybody. So shout out to my math friends. So again, thank you, and I look forward to a wonderful many, many years as Santa Barbara High School principal.
I see. Actually, I might have to come back to something later. Okay.
Okay. All right, well, it's always exciting to have positive news and new opportunities for our staff. I want to move on to now number 7, board comments and correspondence. Any board comments or correspondence? Mr. Paredes Ulloa.
Just wanted to say what a great opportunity it was to attend the AVID celebration last week. It was just great to see so many students achieving, going on to college. I remember graduating, doing my senior year at Santa Barbara High School, and not seeing as many varied names on people's acceptance as I saw last Thursday night. So it's a great showing of what AVID is doing, what our school district is doing, and how far and how wide our students are reaching every single day and every single year. And it just motivates me to keep doing what I do, and hopefully motivates our teachers, our students, and our families to keep doing what they're doing and supporting all of our students.
Ms. Parker.
I just want to say thank you again to Santa Barbara City College for hosting our joint meeting with Carpenter Unified and Santa Barbara Unified to talk about how our programs roll into their programs, how our students do their, the promise, dual enrollment, and graduation requirements and the new requirements from the state around that. It was really a helpful and enlightening meeting, and they did a great job. So thanks. Shout out to City College.
Thank you. Ms. Capps?
Yeah, I'll add to the thanks of the team here, Mr. Matsuoka and Dr. Wagner, and especially the School Safety Summit. I went as a parent, and there was about 60 to 70 other parents there, and I thought we were off to a great start with this task force. It was really important information and done in a very creative way. Also with our hometown expert, Dr. Shane Jimerson, who's at UCSB. And this process is still going on, and I hope that the public can engage at further points in it if they didn't already attend this last week, because it was really valuable information. Excuse me. And we see again just another school shooting tragedy this week in Texas, and it's couldn't be more important. So thank you.
All right, I just wanted to also acknowledge our fellow board member, Mr. Paredes Ulloa, because I was there and I got to listen to him speak, and I was very impressed. And it was really great to hear your historical perspective around being an AVID student. And what I was also really impressed about in that room was hearing our student speakers talk so highly of their AVID teacher, as if they were a parent, a really close relationship. And they were a cohort that were so connected to each other from each school. And so it was so powerful to see that connectedness and to see the love that they had for that teacher and those teachers. So I thought it was a very powerful ceremony, and it was a privilege to be a part of that. Again, I also wanted to just reiterate, too, about the task force and the forum. I mean, to go from March, where we just pretty much learned about sort of brainstormed on how we could formulate something as powerful as a task force, and then have a forum within 2 months, I think is a real positive, amazing accomplishment, I should say. And I want to acknowledge Dr. Waganet and the work that she did to ensure that happened, but also I hear you spearheaded it so wonderfully. So I'm just supportive of all of our staff who are involved in that, and the community, the parents, our community members. I mean, this is what it takes. Everybody coming together to really make a difference and to challenge, its safety, and to ensure that we have the best safety protocols in place. So that is my 2 cents, or 3. And you wanted to say something, Mr. Matsuoka?
Yes, I see Dr. Gary Rennis in the back, and so I believe there may be a card, Ms. Sims-Moten, in there about Mr. Rennis, but if not, I'm going to go ahead and add another superintendent moment appreciation. So Dr. Rennis is going to be retiring in short order.
Some of the psychologists have been disappointed that my tardiness of producing a retirement calendar. So one of them has started one for me. Apparently I have 15 days.
And so I just want to share to our community, I know you have many of your colleagues here. So Dr. Rennis has received from the Central Coast Association of School Psychologists a Meritorious Service Award upon his retirement, and I see someone here to present to him. So is this Becky Norton? All right, so and Dr. Rennis, would you please come up to the podium so we can embarrass you? All right, and acknowledge.
More so than already?
Yes.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Matsuoka. And these are my colleagues, I'm fellow school psychologists, fan club, Gary's fan club. There are others that weren't able to be here. So on behalf of the Central Coast Association of School Psychologists, CCASP, we're an affiliate of the California Association of School Psychologists. We are very pleased to announce that Gary is the recipient of this year's Meritorious Service Award. It recognizes the outstanding service and professional dedication of school psychologists and allied professionals in Santa Barbara County. And Gary is a former school psychologist. Guilty, as charged. And nominees are recognized for their service to students, service to teachers, service to administrators, service to parents, service to community agencies, and service to the profession. Gary had a long career prior to joining us, but he's brought many gifts to us in his short time here, and we will miss him greatly. His colleagues highlighted the following qualities and achievements in service to our district. He has provided years of service to students through his non-judgmental, kind approach during his time as a psychologist and now as an administrator. He is extremely supportive, always willing to listen, and brainstorm ways to best support students in light of limited resources and/or difficult circumstances. He makes time for everyone, whether it's a coworker, a teacher, an administrator, parent, or student. He's always there with a smile on his face. Gary has gone out of his way to support the psychologists during his tenure as their program facilitator. An example is that he purchased a space heater out of his own pocket one morning for a psychologist and brought it to her during a cold streak in January when her office heating system was not functioning. He has shared many stories of going above and beyond to support others in their time of greatest need. During his time as a psychologist, he shared that he responded to support schools and families where murders or suicides had taken place. He led the crisis response team at his former district with the NAS Prepare model. In terms of service to students, he has demonstrated service to students by taking the stance of a true educator through his length of time in the field, his advanced studies in the field, the depth and breadth of his knowledge base, the passion he shows when working with the students and fellow psychologists, always giving the student and families the benefit of the doubt in giving back to the field he works in. He uses his extensive knowledge and many years of varied experience to take a big picture approach to supporting students. He does his best to make student-centered decisions and truly cares about the work he does and the impact it has on students and families. He works diligently to ensure that the needs of the students are met. Related to service to teachers, his service to teachers is seen not only through his own significant teaching career, but also through always putting others first. In terms of service to administrators, he maintains a high level of competency in his work, as well as positive influence as administrator, among administrators leading with integrity, open-mindedness, and striving for better outcomes of the individuals in his district. He maintains a calm, cheerful, and level-headed presence. For service to parents, he always seems to have a calm presentation in meetings, which can offer a sense of validation and support, which helps to set the stage for an increase in dialogue amongst team members and better problem-solving capacity. So it is with great pleasure that CCASP would like to present this award to Dr. Rennis for this school year and upon his retirement. Can we take one with all of us too? Would that be okay? Yeah. Can we just stand here? Okay.
Actually, just all along these two steps right here.
Is there any way we can change your mind? You sound too fabulous for words.
All I can say is wow and thank you. It's heartwarming and humbling how much appreciation that this group has shared with me. It truly is. I'm going to paraphrase Colleen Pate, a great educator that I worked with in San Bernardino, that I'm humbled and embarrassed by the accolades because I thought I was just doing my job.
Well, we were very lucky to have you. Thank you so much. So we are now moving to public comments. We do have quite a few. We have 14, and because we have 14, we have sort of a maximum limit where we decide to reduce the time frame for speaking to 2 minutes versus 3. So we will provide you with 2 minutes during this time frame with a 30-second warning by Ms. Sims-Moten, as well as if it is for someone who needs Spanish translation, you will have 4 minutes. So we will move forward with our first public comment.
Vicky Blondell, I know she might have had to leave before, so she's already gone. She just oh, you made it. You were able to stay. Okay, great. All right, thank you. Up here. Yes, to the podium, followed by Pam Herzog.
I'm going to speak quickly. I have to leave because a son of mine who went through the arts programs at Santa Barbara Unified School District is performing tonight with his college choir here from the East Coast. And I told my other 2 sons who've been through the music programs that I was really nervous. I'm an actress, but I was really nervous. And I said, to try and explain what I feel about this is like trying to say why it's necessary to breathe. And my son said, well, why don't you just tell them that? Thank you. Please don't cut back the instrumental music programs.
Thank you.
Pam Herzog, followed by Sarah Bazan.
I am a current parent of a son who is in 9th grade at Santa Barbara High School. I'm also a music teacher at Montecito Union School. And I am disheartened to hear that this is coming up yet again. And so I'm here to actually remind you of something that you earned a year ago this month. Santa Barbara Unified School District was once again named by the National Association of Music Merchants, also known as NAM, as among the best communities in the nation for music education. The award program recognizes outstanding efforts by teachers, administrators, parents, students, and community leaders who have made and support music education as a core component of the curriculum. The designation is awarded to districts and schools that demonstrate an exceptionally high commitment and access to music education. And then it goes on to describe what the music programs look like, the collaboration efforts between communities, organizations, and the district and the teachers and the administrators, and then it ends with, congratulations to the Santa Barbara Unified School District music teachers, district, and school site leaders who make music a critical aspect of our students' education every day. Please be good stewards of this award you earned last year. And listen to your music teachers and ask them, how will this affect your program? Thank you.
So to be followed by John Douglas.
Hello, everyone. As a parent of 2 students, 2 musicians, as well as a mental health professional in the children's mental health system, I'm here to advocate for the expansion and not reduction of a music program at Santa Barbara Unified District, because research shows, and you all know this, I'm sure, that music is essential for neurological development and social emotional development. It is by design that Montecito Union School, one of the best elementary schools in the state, has every child learn an instrument as well as vocal instruction. They get music twice a week. And because of the mission of this district, of the success of all students, I really encourage you all to think about those students that are going to fall through the cracks, those students who might not be in competitive sports, but the sensitive artists. We cannot deprive them of an opportunity to express their souls. And what are we losing as a community? Really think about it. If those students that don't get to reach their full potential. Look at our mission. By not offering them opportunities. And I'm thinking expansion in that really the elementary schools. So that they, by the time they get to junior high, they don't have to just start an instrument, because that's what happens. My son played an orchestra in high school, and a lot of times, he had the opportunity to go to Montecito Union
30
School.
seconds.
And he got that instruction, and it has changed his life and developed him as a human being. So please, expand, don't reduce, because our community needs the musicians, it's the soul of our culture, and you're doing our community injustice if you take that away from us. Thank you.
John, to be followed by Iyanna Brown.
Board and Superintendent, some of us arrived early, and somehow the speaker slips got jumbled. If we could have Chuck Wood, Dr. Charles Woods, and Eric Heidner, they both have classes to teach at City College. Like right now, I'm willing to go to the end of the line for my comments, but I just wanted them to come up because they were here first, literally. Is that okay?
Yes, is Dr. Wood here? Okay. Is there anyone else that needs to leave? I need to pull you up ahead. You're good. So John, you can come up after that.
Okay, great, thank you.
My adults class in jazz history is waiting. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Here's a message from the State Board of Education. It says, the arts are a dynamic presence in our daily lives, enabling us to express our creativity while challenging our intellect. Achievement in the arts cultivates essential skills, problem solving, creative thinking, effective planning, time management, teamwork, effective communication, understanding of technology. I sound like a Donald Trump supervisor reading all of that. But the point we're making is this is what music does. Now, we are aware of some of these proposed cuts. What happens when we take 50% of the education opportunities away from these students in the junior highs and the high schools? Well, for those who are of means and can afford, sure, they send their kids to private schools. Instruction, all of that. But what about the other 50%? Maybe even 60% of this cultural heritage that is Santa Barbara. This is one of the most diverse multicultural cities in America. We have French, Italian, German festivals, and of course our own fiesta. Every celebration reverberates with its own unique musical expression. Where did all those musicians come from? We all know it's called music public education. What do we do in music education? We identify, nurture, and define the musical skills of all the areas. In return, these musicians bring back to us this marvelous cultural experience. I started to make a list of artists that have come through our systems and come to Santa Barbara City College. And listen to this list of people. They're all well known, and they were in our system. They are our products. Katie Pera, Adolfo Acosta, Eduardo Villa, Tim Pagoda, Eric Golder, Ben Davis, Tim Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. That's your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the opportunity and make music education continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. John, to be followed by Iyanna Brown.
Thank you, Board and Superintendent. I have a letter, okay, if that can be put into the record. Thank you. Sorry. I did the jazz band. I was the jazz band director at Goleta Valley Junior High for 12 years, and I've done many musicals at Dos Pueblos High School and Santa Barbara High School as a music director. And I started out actually over at Brandon Elementary in Goleta, taught there for 5 years under Lynette Myers. And I was over at Harding School for a year as a music teacher as well. Mitch Light, a beloved 6th grade teacher over at Brandon Elementary, was there in my classroom, and he brought his sixth graders in, and I was teaching something about music. I don't remember what, but the kids were a little unruly, and I stopped them and I said, you know, guys, music is just as important as math, as social studies, as history, etc., it's geography. And Mr. Light from the back of the room, now hold on a second there, Mr. Douglas. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to be totally undermined. Mr. Light said, music is more important than those subjects because music feeds your soul. Thank you.
Thank you. Yanya Brown, to be followed by Marcus Lopez.
Hello, I'm Ayana. This is Ashley and Chimwe. We are here because we do not agree with the reduction of the music programs in Santa Barbara, and we would like to sing a song. Just to. What? I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother
30 seconds.
and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there's been times that I thought I couldn't last for long.
Sounds good. We gotta go. We gotta move on.
Now I think I'm able
We got some more speakers. We gotta move on. Sounds
to
good.
carry on.
Thank you. Marcus Lopez, to be followed by Laurel Schwartz. I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
My name is Chimwe Lopez. I'll be reading for my father because he has a sore throat. Dear school board members, I am a SB high school parent and an SBHS alumni. I believe music is the essence of education. I support our school music programs. My children have enriched their lives with music. Every time I go to a concert or music program at our high schools, junior highs, or elementary schools, I am impressed by the talent of our students and our music teachers. A wise elder said that a good outcome of education is the combination of the mind and the soul. Music is just that. Music is that important. Music teachers must not change their programs and undo the energy and effort in mastering and building the student-teacher rapport, which has been a plus for us all. Just go to a concert or listen to them. I have. Please do not let our music teachers go to other campuses and disrupt what they have created. Our students deserve better than this. Let us support other means and find alternatives rather than advocate for a soulless thinking. Thank you.
Laurel to be spotted by Christy Holstein.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Laurel Schwartz, and I am here as a concerned citizen regarding the future state of our local school music programs. I'm here as a master's in education from UCSB and also as a local performing musician. I'm not currently a parent, but am a Santa Barbara homeowner, and one day will hopefully be sending my future children to the Santa Barbara Unified Public Schools. To note, I encourage the board, the administration, and the public to listen carefully to solutions proposed by my band director, Eric Heidner, who's in the audience and will speak in a couple of minutes. We need to find solutions to this program, and we need to work together. I am dismayed this year, as it seems every year, that there are cuts on the table to our music programs, forcing our local professionals to lose hours, impossibly combine different music groups, and in extreme cases, as we've just seen at Santa Barbara High School, give up altogether in frustration. Young students who are involved in the arts, and particularly in music, are better equipped to be independent learners, contributors to our community, and high-level thinkers. And yes, this does translate into higher test scores, but it also means so much more. I understand that tough choices must be made each year by our school board and administration. However well-intentioned balancing our ever-tightening budget is, cutting funding to local music programs in any way is extremely short-sighted and ultimately only serves to rob our children of one of the most life-enriching experiences possible. I hope that when my future children begin attending the local schools, they will have stepped up and finally made the wise choice to save our music programs permanently.
30 seconds.
I stand behind our music educators, and it is time that this entire community does the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Christy to be followed by Eric Heidner.
Hi. I would actually like to quickly defer to Eric Heidner. We were supposed to be reversed in order. Thank you.
Okay. Can y'all do that and let me know ahead of time? Come on, Eric. Gotta work it out.
My name is Eric Heidner, and for the past 15 years I have served as a professor of music and director of bands at Santa Barbara City College. I've also served as the instrumental music teacher for Santa Barbara High School from 1999 until 2003, and I am a product of the Santa Barbara School District, having attended Goleta Valley Junior High and Dos Pueblos High back in 1984 and 1990. I'm here again tonight to express my deep concern over the district's recent decisions regarding the instrumental music program at the secondary level. It is my understanding that the instrumental music teacher at La Colina Junior High School is to be involuntarily transferred this fall to Washington Elementary School, and that despite this teacher's great efforts to build up the program at La Colina, its instrumental music position will be offered as a part-time position of .6 to the new instructor. The reason given appears to be a new buzz term, teacher equity, where a teacher's position is valued by the number of students in their classroom despite the value of the work for their school as a whole. It also appears that this decision was announced to La Colina's instructor without giving him any time to find other solutions to this issue. I have previously spoken to the board about the need to provide comprehensive music programs that allow students to advance from elementary school to junior high to high school. An analogy of a plant is a good one. Clip any part of the plant below the flower, and that flower will never blossom at the top. By not offering a full-time position at La Colina, you are doing exactly that. You can see the direct results of this across town, too. The lack of support at Santa Barbara Junior High has made Santa Barbara High School's program wither to the point where their excellent instrumental music teacher,
30 seconds.
And I say that with the knowledge that they were one of my top students when I taught at SBHS, has become so frustrated that she has decided to quit and move out of town. So tonight I come to you with simple solutions, long-term solutions that will prevent last-minute drastic decisions because of budgetary concerns. Regarding the La Colina position, I am happy to report that La Colina's instrumental music class numbers have just increased as of today, where each class is on par numbers-wise with other full-time campuses.
Thank you, Eric. Christy to be followed by Ike Jenkins.
Where each class is on par, numbers-wise, with our full-time campuses. Perhaps this recent increase alone can justify expanding the La Colina position to .8 or even .9. The only course that is still a bit low is beginning band with 18 students. So simply take a look at why there aren't more music students coming into the school as 7th graders. Many of these students are coming from the 3 elementary schools of the Hope School District, where only string classes are offered. If the Hope School District were to expand their offerings to include wind and percussion instrument instruction, La Colina's beginning band course would certainly blossom. While Hope School District is outside of our direct control, You could certainly have Santa Barbara Unified School District's Performing Arts Liaison, Kimberly Hoy, meet with Hope principals and PTSA members about expanding Hope's instrumental music program. And also note that Eric, along with other local music educators, community arts leaders, and parents have formed a performing arts advocacy group that would be glad to help with this situation, and we can offer names of excellent instructors to teach winds and percussion, including La Colina's music teacher, who could perhaps be granted a temporary .1 rebuilding stipend while his program is put in place. As for the situation at Santa Barbara Junior High and Santa Barbara High School, Eric has again heard rumors that these two instrumental music positions will be combined into one position, as was proposed last year at this time. The concept of combining the two campuses under one director is both ridiculous and disastrous. This was tried before with La Colina and San Marcos over a decade ago, and neither campus has yet recovered. Having taught at both Santa Barbara High School, Eric, there is no way a single person can effectively run both programs without burning themselves out and their students along with them. The problem seems to stem from getting more incoming 7th graders into Santa Barbara Junior High into instrumental music classes. Again, I think that Kimberly Hoy and our Performing Arts Advocacy Group would be happy to work with the elementary school music teachers, along with the Santa Barbara Junior High counselors and the principal, to see that music students are given a priority in their choice of electives.
All right, Jenkins. To be followed by Ricardo Asiano.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ike Jenkins, not necessarily Isaac Jenkins. I've taught at La Cumbre Junior High School for approximately 10 years, Dos Pueblos for the first 10, Santa Barbara High School for 10, and then back to Dos Pueblos for another 7 or 8, and now I'm at Santa Barbara City College teaching one class. I've known most all of these music teachers, and most of them that I can look around the room were in my class at one time. I do want to mention a name like Howard McGillen. Howard McGillen is or was the Phantom on Broadway for 12 years. He was a product of your schools. Now, I want to go into a different direction like quick, though, by the way. Thank you, board, for letting me and superintendent for coming up and saying a couple of words to you. I do want to emphasize that doing things like this is nothing new. It seems to rotate. My first year was 1970. And it just rotates over and over, and then all of a sudden the room is full. And it's because of the same problem. I would like to say that maybe if you haven't had the opportunity to go out to a campus, and all of them, and see what's going on in music, it would probably enlighten you to know, I can't even begin to say. And so in my last couple of seconds, let me just say there are a couple of books that I would really like to recommend. One of them is called Effortless Mastery, and it talks about being a good music teacher and how to hire a good music teacher. And this other one is called The Joy of Inspired Teaching. That's all about hiring music teachers, what should happen in a music school. Anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins.
Oh, I'm just getting started.
Next time.
Thank you.
Ricardo, to be followed by Richard Yee.
Good evening, Ricardo Alcaino. I'm currently outgoing president for the Dos Pueblos Band Boosters for 2 years. And we do a lot of work, as you probably all know, as band boosters and all the boosters for various programs. And one of the things we spend a lot of time is raising funds to not just do extras things, but the curricular things that are part of our program. Teaching the music program is very important. But all the competitions, everything, aspects, getting instruments, fixing instruments, all those kind of things, the band boosters raise that funds. So I know you're not proposing to cut programs outright, but reduce them. But what you've heard already earlier from today it's actually effectively killing the programs. And some of the programs, as you heard, have not recovered yet to where they're at. And as you all know, music's very important, and it's part of the curriculum. It's not extracurricular. It's part of the curriculum. I do have a son that is a musician. He's been a musician. He started here in the Santa Barbara City Schools in the third grade with drums, and now he's a really accomplished woodwind player, plays all kinds of instruments. He's going to study music in college, and all thanks to the programming that was put here and the choice which we were provided as a family to have him pursue music and to enhance. He's a 4.1 student actually, and it's part of that. Just like sports help us, our kids, with teams and to help become better students and to integrate, music does the same thing, and good, robust, well-funded, well-supported music programs do the same thing, and they're essential to our schools. It's not extracurricular.
30
Thank
seconds. Thank you. Richard to be followed by our final speaker, Jerome Cornell.
Good evening, Board. Richard Yee. I was born and raised here in Santa Barbara. I'm a product of the school system. I grew up on the east side, Franklin School, went to Santa Barbara Junior High School, excuse me, and graduated with honor from Santa Barbara High School. All during my education, I took music classes. I could have easily fallen through the cracks. I've had a 39-year successful career with law enforcement. Another previous speaker talked about slipping through the cracks. I don't want to see the kids slipping through the cracks. I've seen too many of them. Please, keep the music program. You'll get results. I've seen it. I've been with the Santa Barbara High School Band Boosters for the last 14 years. Both of my children, my daughter and my son, both went through the high school program, all the music programs, instrumental music. My niece here is currently at Santa Barbara High School, and all of them have been successful, as I have been. Please, keep the music program. I urge you. Thank you.
Jerome Cornell.
Good evening. My name is Jerome Cornell. I'm a Santa Barbara resident for about 9 years. I have 3 children. My daughter graduated from Santa Barbara High 3 years ago. I have a daughter at Dos Pueblos who's a sophomore this year in the music program. I have a son who'll be coming back from Europe and going into junior high this next year. I was shocked, absolutely stunned, when I heard last Thursday what is happening and what is projected to happen, especially from this community. We came here from a great district in El Segundo, California, and we came into this district, and one of the things that we were so impressed with was the music program. My daughter entered at Roosevelt, started with an instrument. Junior high was they had an amazing group of kids there. She was overseas for a year, came back and entered Dos Pueblos this year, and picked up with the music program there, which is unbelievable. And the support, as he mentioned, and what the boosters do and all the money that's raised is hefty. But you look at those kids, and my daughter is a rare one that plays athletics also, but now she's got friends that are sports kids and the band kids. The band kids are different. And if you lose that music program, I don't know what would happen to those kids. But I know that I mentioned this in the last 2 days when I'm out and about. Professionally, I get to see a lot of people in what I do for a living, and everyone I told was stunned. And every parent I told, I guarantee if they had enough time, they'd be here tonight. So I really hope that you can reconsider this, if it needs to be reconsidered, and that you maybe look at other options and alternatives. And if nothing less, then you ask for full community, a full community understanding of it before you make any more moves, because I really think that this is something that's so important for Santa Barbara, as everyone here just mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all of our public comments. We're going to move forward now with letter E, acceptance of donations.
I move to approve with gratitude the donations.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And it passes unanimously. Moving on to our consent agenda. Are there any items that fellow board members would like to pull? We will come back to these at the end of the meeting. Ms. Sims-Moton?
6.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. We are now moving to item G, public hearing, Santa Barbara Charter School petition for renewal. I will now close the regular board meeting for a public hearing of this renewal, Santa Barbara Charter renewal. During this public hearing, we will allow 3 minutes for public comment, but we will first be listening to the presentation of our speakers, at which point, because we do have 3 public comments?
We do.
Okay. But not responding to them. We will not be responding to any of the speakers as a board. We will address these in our report item in the agenda. So at that time, we as a board will have the opportunity to respond and ask any questions that we may have before we move forward with the next agenda item. So, I'll have you come on up, Ms. Donner? Yeah.
Or the parent speaker?
Do you want to do the public?
You want to do speakers first?
Okay.
So we have Ruben Missling, followed by Sarah Hernandez.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for this opportunity to allow me to share some of the reasons why we love charter school and we support the renewal of the charter. I'm local. I grew up here. My family moved here from the Philippines. Back in '79, I went through Cleveland School and Santa Barbara Junior High, and Santa Barbara High School, Santa Barbara City College, and then finally UCSB. So I've got strong ties to this community, even having moved to LA for a bit, and want to make sure that my kids were able to grow up in this community and experience the wonderful school system that is here. So there's a lot of things I can say about the charter school that I love. One of the biggest things is that they really make learning fun. There's a lot of hands-on learning. There's an outdoor garden. There's music in classes. There's ukuleles. There's guitars. There's great field trips. One that really sticks out is a 4th grade field trip, 4 days to Monterey. And along the way, we visit all the missions. So kids can walk through actual missions that they would study instead of reading them through books. There really is this sense of education is a team effort. Just a few weeks ago, we felt our younger daughter was sort of falling behind in her math skills. And so we were able to meet with her teacher and a couple staff members and come up with a plan to help her along and get her caught up. And it really makes it easy for the children to speak with their teachers and communicate. I have 2 older kids who went through charter school. One is now at Santa Barbara High School, and the other is at Santa Barbara Junior High. And one day, my older son at Santa Barbara Junior High experienced, he saw a fight.
I'm sorry, you have 1 more minute. We need to reset the clock, so he has additional minute.
Oh.
Didn't want your red flashing with you.
All right, extra.
Thank you.
Okay, 1 minute shot clock, okay. So he saw a fight, and while all the other kids were standing around watching, he had the sense to go and get a teacher. So his ability, his experience, and being able to approach a teacher, I think really showed through there, and the teachers at charter school really make that happen. It's such a tight-knit community. Teachers, parents, all the students, they seem to know each other. When my daughter, who is now at Santa Barbara High School,
30 seconds.
And she's entered the VADA program, she's been able to find a similar community to help her along and help her through high school, and she's been doing great. Let's see, what else? I want to make sure I cover everything. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. So, we have been driving from our home in Santa Barbara to Goleta for the past 7 years, dealing with traffic, many times being late to school, and we are happy to do it for another 5 years.
Okay, time. Thank you. Okay. Sarah to be followed by Ashley Richter.
Good evening. My name is Sarah, and I am a Santa Barbara Charter parent. And my daughter has been there from kindergarten with Miss Wendy, who's sitting back there, one of the founders, up to now with Miss Christina, who's her current teacher. And I wanted just to come up here and talk to you guys in support of this amazing school that we have been so blessed to become a part of. I will be so happy to see her graduate when she finishes out her 6th grade year, because this place is a family. It's more than just a place that she goes and she learns, which is so important. It is a safe place for her. It's a haven that she can go and feel supported on an emotional level, because unfortunately not everybody gets to have a very gentle childhood, and she's had to deal with some rough emotional things in her short 9 years of life, and she's been able to come to this school and feel safe and feel supported and feel that she can still flourish and get all of the help that she needs, whether it's with help with math or whether it's help with dealing with any sort of an emotional issue that she might be having. The tight-knitted foundation of charter has helped not only my daughter, but me, even as a single parent, to feel accepted, to feel supported, and to know that my daughter is getting this amazing education on top of this wonderful support system. So I really just wanted to kind of highlight that as well. The class sizes, the versatility, the hands-on garden and the field trips and things such as that have also just helped to create this really unique environment, not only for my daughter, but even for her cousins who go there as well. And it's just a very special place to be. And I think it's very special that everybody knows everyone, and also to kind of touch a little bit on the idea, especially right now with the things that are going on in schools, the conflict resolution that the children learn at Santa Barbara Charter is so key, and I'm so grateful that she gets to learn that, and I would love for other children to be able to take that when they go on to junior high and to high school, especially in the current situation that the children in this country are dealing with. It's a very scary place to send your child to school every day and be concerned that they're not going to be safe. This conflict resolution that they're learning from kindergarten up helps to not have to worry about them being in an environment where they have to deal with bullying. I don't think my daughter's ever said anything about a bully. So basically, to kind of sum it up, I'm just here as a parent to be supportive of this charter school, to see not only my child graduate from there, but future children to graduate from there. And we are very, very blessed to be a part of the charter family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Ashley Richter. I'm a parent of 2 boys at Santa Barbara Charter School in 2nd grade and kindergarten. I'm also a former elementary teacher, so I'm able to appreciate the school on a few different levels. What I wanted to share tonight is something you can't really capture on paper, is that Santa Barbara Charter School teaches life skills. It's what's important in and outside the classroom. One of my favorite things that happened this year, my son came home near the beginning of school and said, "Mom, we're doing this group project and we have to drop a raw egg off the top of a building and make sure that it lands safely." And he was so thrilled with this project. So he's cooperating, he's compromising within his group to design this with the materials that have been provided. And he was telling me about it, came home a few days later and said, "Mama, my teacher gave us a twist today. Now we have a budget." And I said, now that's a real life skill. I haven't done any projects in my work or at home that don't involve a budget for the project. So they're integrating these math skills. They do the experiments. The children are learning from each other. And whether the children were successful or not at the end of the day wasn't what mattered. It was that they were able to learn from one another. And something amazing also happened, that the teachers gave them a second opportunity. This is what the school does. They were able to go back, improve their designs, and try the experiments again. That's what teaches grit and perseverance, these open-ended projects that the school does on a regular basis. The other part that I'm super impressed with is how they develop relationship skills. Another parent mentioned conflict resolution, and my students my children, all the students, focus on solutions. Now, no matter what job you have, whatever you do in your life, you're going to have conflicts and you need to know how to deal with them. The teachers encourage the students to speak directly to one another using eye contact, I statements without placing blame. They clearly identify and express their emotions. My kindergartner has come so far this year, learning to know how he's feeling and express it in a healthy way. They take responsibility for each person's role within the conflict.
30
and
seconds.
then identify ways to change their behavior and their words in the future for the benefit of the relationship. I just feel unbelievably lucky to have this type of instruction for my children, and I know that every student that goes through charter school is going to be a better friend, a better partner, and a better colleague because of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So I want to apologize, Ms. Donner, because I didn't want you to get your hopes up, but you thought you could speak now, but you're going to have to wait through the action agenda. So with that said, I'm going to now close the public speaking item G1 and return to our regular meeting and the action agenda. So we're moving on to H1.
Dr. Reed, just a point of order on that. I mean, would it be possible for us, with the board's agreement, to move ahead to item I1, since I don't see any point in having everybody here sit through this, and then take a break before we do the action agenda instead?
I'm perfectly fine with that. That's where I was heading.
Okay. Great.
So if the board is in agreement.
Yeah.
All right. So come on down.
So as Ms. Donner's coming up, let me just preface this for the board. The petition was submitted to myself and Dr. Ramirez. I've read through the entire set of documents, all three of them. And as you can tell, this is a long-standing charter and relationship with Santa Barbara Unified. I have walked your campus multiple times, and they're super proud of their school. And the history of this school goes back 25 years. So this is not a new report to us as a district, although I would say for superintendent and for board members, it's our first look at, the roots of their school. But as you can see through the report, you heard through the parents, it's got a long history in Santa Barbara. So with that, I will introduce Ms. Laura Donner. And I don't know if Dave Weissman's going to add to this report, but these two have been anchoring the leadership of Santa Barbara Charter for a long time. So, Ms. Donner.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for taking the time tonight to focus on our charter petition and to speak with us. As Mr. Matsuoka said, my name is Laura Donner. I'm the Director of Education at Santa Barbara Charter School, and also wanted to point out our longtime Director of Operations, Dave Weissman. As you may know, Dave is retiring this year, and we have carefully planned for his transition and selected an internal replacement for the coming year, and that's Christina Cullen, who's sitting here on his left. So we're thrilled to carry this tradition on through Christina, and our other teacher leaders will continue to support the work of the school with lead roles in outreach, development, compliance, diversity, site enhancement, and human resources. So our mission at Santa Barbara Charter School is that we nurture lifelong learners by cultivating the interests and building the skills of both students and their families in the arts, academics, and relationships. And so working collaboratively, the staff, parents, and students create a responsive and innovative educational program. Here at the 25-year mark, we celebrate our long-term staff. Santa Barbara Charter School has 2 25-year teachers and 2 24-year teachers on staff this year, 24 and 25 years at Santa Barbara Charter School. Many of our classified staff came to us as parent volunteers who worked in the classroom and stayed on as instructional aides even after their children left and graduated. We have 2 founding parents who helped start the school 25 years ago and have continued with us as instructional aides, as well as other longtime staff. You have seen our demographics over time in the charter narrative, and you likely noticed that we met or exceeded our demographic targets that were set in that previous charter renewal 4 out of the 5 past years. And this year we have 22% Hispanic Latino students enrolled. Our unduplicated student count is 23%, and we have about 9 home languages reported annually. Since our enrollment system is a lottery, this increase in Latino enrollment is due to our increased outreach, we believe. Children come from all over the county, and actually Ventura County as well this year, to attend Santa Barbara Charter School, with the majority of students from Santa Barbara and Goleta. This year we have 291 students, which is about approximately 165 families. So there's no title there, sorry, that's percent of our enrollment and then the actual numbers on the right. For our CASP scores from spring of 2017, our all-student data for mathematics and English language arts are all in the green. Key performance goal is for all students to achieve at least 1 year of academic progress by the conclusion of each school year, and we have approximately 35 to 40 students per grade level. So what we've done is taken a look at our scores over the years. Because of our small size, we've seen that test results can be dramatically affected by the demographics and the characteristics of each cohort. Likely because of our small sample size, there is some volatility in our scores year after year. So these are our own school scores from 15, 16, 17 throughout the grades. And this is percentage of students with standard met or exceeded. Similarly, for language arts, with these preliminary results, we see some gradual leveling out by 6th grade, and we'll continue to analyze our test score data over time. So one of the things we did is look at our cohort data over time. So we've got 3 years of test scores as of last spring, which are just the only 3 years of this data that we have. So looking at what were our 2017 6th grade cohort, we see an increase in their mean CASP ELA score of 59 points, and in math, their mean score increased 70 points from 4th grade to 6th grade. So the same group of students from 4th grade into 6th grade. And the percentage of students who were at least proficient increased from 61% in 4th grade English language arts to 63% in 6th grade, and from 42% to 51% in math. So within this grade level cohort, we can see at least a year of academic progress each year over time. And then our cohort data for last spring's 5th graders. With this group, we see a 3-year increase in mean scores of 142 points for ELA, English Language Arts, and a 3-year increase of 116 points for math. So the percentage of students who were at least proficient increased from 43% in 3rd grade to those same students at 76% in 5th grade for language arts, and from 40% to 59% in math. So again, within this grade level cohort, we can see at least a year of academic progress each year over time. Our 2017 CASP data also shows that our scores for our students with disabilities are increasing. We provide a combination of push-in and pull-out support for our special education students. Our longtime special education staff are ideally suited to provide research-based programs that are individualized to best suit the needs of the students. We've also found that with assistive technology, it's ideal for supporting the special education students with accessing the curriculum, as well as for providing ways for them to show what they know. Our data from our 2017 CASP scores shows that our scores for our socioeconomically disadvantaged students declined. So therefore, we worked systematically this year to improve our mathematic performance for our unduplicated students on the CASP and with the in-class performance. So we hired additional math tutors this year to work with our lower performing students from identified subgroups. Additionally, all the teachers in 4th and 5th grade collaborated to meet the needs of the students through homogeneous groupings, differentiated instruction, and frequent progress monitoring. So to do this, we actually doubled the number of teachers from 3 to 6 in math time for those 4th and 5th grade students. We provided special education and intervention support through mathematics at that same time. And so our in-class performance data shows that this method was really effective for meeting the student needs and improving student performance, and we hope to see some improvements in our 2018 CASP scores as well. So we're serving our unduplicated students particularly through an after-school homework club program, which provides enrichment classes and academic tutoring, as well as homework assistance. This program is very popular and well attended with a waiting list every trimester. This year, we saw that student engagement really improved, as well as student performance, which was particularly noticeable with large-scale projects that were typically done as homework. Project for a mathematician's expedition, as well as our science fair projects. Many of our students would not have completed these projects if it were not for the staff in that after-school homework club. In-school tutoring support is valued by the parents and teachers and has a positive impact on student achievement. The teachers prioritize the hiring of support staff in math so the student needs can be met more individually. Our home-based partnership students also engaged in many enrichment opportunities, and in particular really enjoyed their all-school field trip to the California Science Center this spring. This year, 6 teacher leaders participated in Channel Islands Regional Science Initiative, a CIRSE group working on the next generation science standards. We received an $8,000 grant from the Wharton Foundation to work on this science work as well. We were a recipient of the $25,000 MTSS implementation grant for our intervention, the new multi-tiered systems of support, and so we're currently working through that process with the Santa Barbara County Education Office. We have a Santa Barbara Rotary Club Teacher of the Year award was given to Bev Abrams this year. Teacher-initiated grant from Teaching Tolerance for a project called Mirrors Through Literacy. Also, Christina Cullen received that $1,000 grant for her classroom. We have 5 teachers who wrote a collaborative teaching grant with the Santa Barbara County Education Office and were awarded $2,500 for that, and 2 $700 grants for curriculum projects. And we have a Crystal Apple Award winner, our special education teacher, Linda Cowan, will be receiving that award on Thursday. So lots to be proud of this year. Our end-of-the-year class plays in our classroom-based program are a special highlight. The annual project fair and open house is an exciting display of independent study projects and performances in the home-based partnership program. Miss Sophie sees herself up on the screen. Other highlights include that we have a representational student government, a student alliance that was established 3 years ago. Our 5th graders receive 6 hours of peacemaker training annually and then offer their peer mediation skills to the younger students for helping them solve concerns on the playground. Every student participates in those curriculum-based field trips that provide opportunities for hands-on learning and building community connections. And as one of the parents mentioned, beginning in 4th grade, the students participate in overnight field trips that really crystallize much of their science and social studies learning from their grade level curriculum. We are a teacher-powered school and a model for other startup charter schools. We've had international and national visitors come and study both our classrooms and organizational structure. We have modeled early leadership in creating a school focused on student-centered learning. We are progressive educational leaders. We demonstrate leadership with place-based learning. We model and implement comprehensive skill development with conflict resolution and mediation, which is also known as restorative approaches with both students and families. And our charter teachers exhibit the quality of lifelong learners. We are currently piloting a farm-to-school community partnership with Fairview Gardens, We consistently host UCSB researchers in the classrooms and community presenters, family and community volunteers, and student teachers who are members of the Kindergarten Readiness Network with the Santa Barbara Unified School District. 2 of our current staff are adjunct faculty at Antioch University in the master's program and teacher education programs. And the teachers engage in a model of continuous improvement through an annual collegial coaching, peer assessment, and feedback process. I included my data sources on my slide, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any board comments, questions? Ms. Parker?
Sure. First of all, I want to say thank you. It's fabulous to see such a great turnout for the school. And I am the board rep to Santa Barbara Charter, and I've been so sorry that my Thursday evening work schedule just typically conflicts with when the Circle of Trustees meets. But I've appreciated the email dialogue. And that's been great. And I'm assuming that whenever this comes up for action, we will get a detailed analysis of the school data coming from the district side, and the recommendation on whether or not we should renew the charter. I mean, it's whenever that comes up for actual action.
I would need some guidance and history about what data's been presented as far as charter renewal on behalf of the district.
I can do that. What I appreciate is the up-to-date data. That was great to see. Let's see. Concern continues to be, of course, that while it is a goal of the school to reflect the demographics of the community, it's not there yet. It's made some progress. And so I would still like to see more about next steps because while there has been progress, it's still, I think my hope was, and I think all of our hopes was, that in 5 years that it would be able to get to the point where it can reflect the demographics of the district. Or even just, it's located in Goleta, and so I really use the Goleta Union Standard, which is different from Santa Barbara Unified. But that I would love to see, and I'd love to see more about that. And I am concerned that that maybe it's not just about outreach, that it might be reflecting on the program. And does the program need to be more what our Latino families are interested in? Is that a two-way dialogue, let's put it that way, instead of just being one-sided? And one question I had is, does Santa Barbara Charter, you've participated in IEE, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
We sent a team a few years back.
Yeah. I feel like that maybe I was there with some of your team.
With-
Yeah. You probably remember me sobbing? Yeah. That was me. So I know that that absolutely the intentions are to do so. It's hard, and especially you get into a position like this, and it's hard to get out of it. But I have faith. I am worried about the. The one meeting I happened to get to was the lottery.
Yes.
And what I saw there was there's so much family interest, and I'm sure that varies from year to year. But when you have so many siblings getting preference to go in, which is exactly what I would want for any school that my kids were at. I completely get it, but then I'm worried, is that effectively barring students of color from coming in because there's so much of a family relationship? And so that's a question mark for me. And I didn't get a chance to see, I had noted before that that there are some issues on the dashboard with suspension rate for students with disabilities, and I didn't get a chance to see if that got addressed. But I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Is this a good time to address that specifically? Yes, that is on the current dashboard. So with our special education students, we have, I think 30 was the number on the dashboard, and we had one student who was suspended last year, a special education student, where the year before we had 0. And so that shows a 3% increase because one student out of 30 from 0 to 1, so that automatically dings it down to red.
Yeah.
That student was a 6th grader who is no longer at our school this year, and at this point, we have 0 suspensions again. So we anticipate that we've addressed that in this year's LCAP as one of those, the areas we must address, and described that, and so we don't anticipate having any issues on the dashboard with our special education students.
I mean, that is one of the things that we noted when we were talking about single plans earlier, is the dashboard really, it's encouraging when you're going up, but it dings you really fast, even by one student if you're going down. So
yes, it's low and low, right?
Yeah.
Because it went from good to not.
And I think that was everything that was on my list.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Capps?
Hey, Ms. Donner, and I just wanted to thank you. You communicate so frequently with all of us and invite us, and I wish I could come to everything because it all sounds very inviting, and so I'm not surprised that so many of your community is here because you really do stand out with the outreach to the
Thank
board.
you.
And I really enjoyed my tour of it. It seems like a couple years now, maybe, but the focus on the school garden, the partnership with Fairview, I learned what fiber arts was, which is a wonderful emphasis. So just want to thank you again, and please keep up the outreach. It's really nice.
Thank you.
And appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well, I have to say, I think your program is terrific. And of course, I'm a little biased coming from my position at Antioch because a lot of student teachers have been placed at the charter school, and you didn't mention you were one of the faculty specific.
Yes, I am, and I didn't mention that.
No,
yes,
but I will bring that up.
Yeah.
She's a terrific faculty member at Antioch, and I think it just states it so beautifully here. Powerful learning takes place when students create their own meaning and understanding through their interactions with materials and other people and their own experiences. And the student-centered approach, the place-based education, the restorative approaches, the farm to school, I mean, I could list and list and list. So I'm here to actually be a real positive supporter of the school, and the fact that you've sustained it and have the population, and I know, albeit I can see Ms. Parker's perspective in that it would be best if we could bring in more diverse population and maybe think about some of the, actually the ideas that she brought up. But I would like to acknowledge that it is a terrific work, and that I did have a chance to visit, that I'm intimately involved just in my work at Antioch in the work that's going on there. And I also want to reiterate Ms. Capps in saying you are so generous in invitations, and if your outreach to the community, which you have expressed that you have done, is as pointed and supportive of us as it is to the community, then I don't know why they're not coming. So thank you for always those invitations to come, and we continue to wish to have you keep sending those.
Okay, good.
We can come.
I will.
So I'm glad we could also place you before the end of the action agenda items. So thank you very much for your time. And for all of you, you can all go home now if you'd like.
Thank you. Thank you.
So moving forward with our action agenda item number 1, board action on Student Discipline Education Code 48918, case number 201718-36.
We're going to take a break after this. Take a break after this.
It seems
We'll follow you.
we can just keep going.
Gotcha.
Okay. Just keep going.
Yep. We'll follow you. In the case of 201718-36, move approval full expulsion for 1 semester, which ends June 2018.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And it passes unanimously. Board action on Student Discipline Education Code 48918, case number 201718-38.
In the case of 201718-38, stipulated agreement, move approval expulsion with enforcement suspended, 1 school year, which ends January 2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Moving on to action agenda item number 3, Board Action on Student Discipline, Education Code 48918, case number 201718-42.
In the case of 201718-42, stipulated agreement, move approval, expulsion with enforcement suspended, 1 school year, which ends January 2019.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And it passes unanimously. Moving on to action agenda item number 4, discussion and approval of evaluation of 2017-2018 single plan for student achievement activities. Ms. Carey, Dr. Ramirez.
Good evening, Board President, Dr. Reed, Board. It's a pleasure. Glad that we had an opportunity to have a study session, which everybody participated. That was a really a culmination not only of this year's work and efforts, but also of last year's. So to this specific evaluation, I can hear Mr. Ed Heron kind of in my mind, who constantly would speak to the fact that it was always a great opportunity to hear about single plans for the following year, but it was sometimes unclear what conclusions were drawn and how things came to a close in the current year. And so this evaluation essentially is it's more than just a statute. It's really for us to live up to those expectations and priorities around evaluating our work. So what you have before you are evaluations for this current 17-18 school year, which helped become a foundation for the renewal for 18-19 plans. I also want to turn it over to my counterpart, Ms. Carey, to offer her thoughts on this evaluation component.
I just want to echo, good evening, board members. I just want to echo everything Dr. Ramirez said, but then maybe also add another piece that I got to experience directly and wanted to make sure that I convey to you, and not just me, but we in the Ed Services team. In reviewing the evaluations of the SIPS activities for the school year that we're in, for 2017-2018, in doing that in a systematized way, we have found that to be a very good way to inform our writing of LCAP. So a part of, a component of the LCAP is we will talk about under specific goal areas, and remember there's parallelism between the structure of the goals in SIPSs and the structure of the goals in the LCAP, but you'll see called out in the LCAP, in the goals, actions, and services, and in the budget space, that there are site allocations. And so when it gets to those places, we're able to be then informed. We talked a little bit earlier today during the study session about the meaningfulness, and now I'm just going to kind of amplify that by saying the authenticity of having this evaluation cycle that sites undergo that not only inform their work, but then also inform our district-wide goal setting and our district-wide prioritizing and monitoring of goals. So that would be another comment I might offer, is just to remind everybody about the kind of the dynamic between the SIPSA cycle and the single plan cycle and the LCAP cycle.
Thank you very much. Any comments, questions? Ms. Parker.
I mean, I feel like we shared a lot as we were going through, and I really appreciated my fellow board members' comments back to administrators as part of that process. I think that everything you said was right on, and I really appreciate the whole, the shift in time, and it was really very interesting. And I also really much prefer focusing hard on a few schools to get a picture of what's going on district-wide, as long as we're all checking in on all of the schools, rather than attempting to have us all really, in such an incredibly superficial and shallow way, spend 5 minutes on a school. So it has been for the past couple of years, and thank you, Mr. Matsuoka. It's been a great process. So I will move approval of the 2018-2019 single plans for student achievement.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. And it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. So moving, Mr.
Can I clarify, so there were really two items. It's approval of the evaluation of the single plans, and then the approval of next year's plans.
This was item H4, approval of evaluation.
Right.
Okay, all right, just wanted to clarify. Okay, so now we move on to item 5.
Now we're going to move on to item 5, and discussion and approval of 2018-2019 single plans for student achievement. Dr. Ramirez or Ms. Carey? Anything to add?
I'll just go ahead and start and just adding that, again, it was a co-constructed effort, and just taking every opportunity to thank those who participated, from school site councils to teachers to staff on site that played a part in executing on these plans, evaluating these plans, conducting the work of these plans, to principals and administrators that wrote them, to our ed services staff, and Dr. Yergin, who was acknowledged earlier in our more intimate setting by Ms. Carey, just people who carefully orchestrated and played a tremendous part in getting just more authenticity and just more evaluative components into plans to make them better and better each year. So.
And the only addition I would make is that we touched on this lightly earlier, but the pragmatic benefit of, again, planning for next year at the same time that we're giving sites their staffing allocation and their budget allocations, I don't think can be understated or overstated, especially as we go into subsequent school years. And now that principals and their respective site councils and governance structures are more accustomed to this rhythm, it will only allow us to be more strategic, more communicative about our planning. So again, just the overlay of the SIPSA cycle, both looking over our shoulder at the evaluation and looking forward at the year to come and the planning, and how that lines up well with our other processes that have to do with planning a future school year, like staffing, master scheduling, and budgeting.
So thank you. And I just wanted to add what I thought was very powerful when you mentioned authentic. So just to sort of take, a step further, the authenticity of the conversation that took place at the table group. So what I really appreciated was the questioning of fellow staff and educators and principals asking really, I think, very pointed questions that I felt were very important to the conversation. So it wasn't just, this is great, let's move on to Plan 2. There was actually a lot of discussion. So I felt that was really I think it was very valuable, and actually it was more, I heard it in each of my groups, so I appreciated that. Any other comments? Ms. Parker.
And I want to clarify, because I had a question on this one, and I was jumping ahead in my remarks on the next one. But so I kind of want to circle back on evaluation. On evaluation, is that something now that the CD is requiring annually? Okay. Thank you. That was my only question, but my comments from the previous one really apply to this one.
All right, we get it. All right, so moving forward, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to action agenda number 6, adoption of resolution 2017/18-47, Santa Barbara Unified School District's ordering board member elections. Mr. Matsuoka.
This is a resolution that happens every 2 years as we head into the November even year elections. And so this resolution consolidates our board elections with the really county and statewide elections. And so we have 2 seats up, Ms. Parker's and Mr. Paredes, you owe a seat. And there's the resolution language before you.
Do we have any comments, questions, motions?
Yeah, I think Can we discuss a little bit further the payment aspect of this as it's written in the resolution, which I need to pull up, but I just want to make sure that we all understand as a board sort of what is included in this resolution.
Is that this resolution, or is that the next resolution? I think it's the next one. Is the next one specifically on candidate statements?
Yeah.
So would you like to make a motion instead?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Now moving on to number 7, adoption of resolution number 2017/18-48, Santa Barbara Unified School District's policies regarding candidate statements in elections for the Board of Education. Mr. Matsuoka.
Yes, so here's the adjacent resolution that states it's really about the cost of the candidate statement, the cost of getting that into the voter's guide, and our board policies, and this resolution continues that practice. Per the question that's come up from Ms. Capps, so we actually researched through our budget system for the last 20 years, and the only cost that we have incurred as a school district is our cost to place the election on the ballot, but not any individual support of candidates. And so that's just been the history. I think we look back a long time. So that's just history, so now the board can have a conversation about this topic.
Ms. Capps.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to discuss, and I don't, just the barrier that is inherent when, there's upwards of $4,000 or $5,000 to run, and what that means, especially moving into district elections. And I know that Goleta Valley School Board recently, in recent years, has moved to actually incur the cost of the candidate statement. I know it's a big cost. We have a lot more ballots, especially than they do. So I recognize, and I don't know how we would do that, but I do think that it should be stated and discussed that it is a barrier. We could look into how much of a barrier, who would have potentially run if that weren't the case, but it's a steep payment that one has to either pay for themselves or raise, which is, I think, unusual in this area. I don't believe that our other local government has that barrier to entry.
Ms. Parker?
Certainly all the school districts do. Goleta is unusual, and I think that they all have to pay for candidate statements, but I agree. I mean, we just have an egregiously high amount. Now, the way, I don't think it hit you three because you didn't have to, ultimately, you got a refund. Right. Even when you do run, I always got a refund back, so that essentially I was paying a quarter of the cost. But it's the upfront cost that you have to fork out, like at this point it's $5,000, and you might get 75% of that back, but it's challenging. Now, the way our board bylaw is written, it is supposed to be that if, and maybe it just hasn't happened, that it hasn't happened. You haven't reimbursed candidates, but you may have had to, at some point in the past, reimburse the county. Because what's supposed to happen is that they're supposed to, we're supposed to guarantee, according to the board bylaw, that, which is 9220, that nobody has to pay more than a quarter sheet. If there's only 2 candidates running, and normally they might charge you $2,500, you're only going to pay $1,250. And there was this whole dialogue about how the county was refusing to reimburse the school district if the school district fronted the money. It was complicated. But I'm wondering if we could revisit 9220, because I do feel it's important that there be some cost, because you need to be a serious candidate. And I don't know if it's through signatures or through, and I don't even know if we can affect that. But my suggestion would be that we change the wording on this to, if you want to scroll down to where it talks about can you want to keep going? No, that's it. Somewhere in there it talks about the candidate statements. the district shall pay the Santa Barbara County Elections Division so that no candidate requesting a candidacy in the voter guide will have to pay a cost. If we can charge, if the district can charge a candidate directly, my suggestion would be the district shall pay the Santa Barbara County Elections Division the costs for all ballot statements and will charge the candidates no more than 1/4 of a page in the guide along those lines, so that there's no, if we can work it out that way, so that there's no more of this $5,000 upfront costs that you then get reimbursed 3 months later. That would be my suggestion, but I think it's worth more communication with our district lawyers, because I do think, I also want to point out that when we go to district elections, the cost will drop dramatically, because if, and I'm just saying that, but I don't know that we're going to go to district elections, but if we go in that direction, that would definitely reduce the cost a lot, because the number of voters that you're getting your candidate statement out to shrinks dramatically. So that will also help.
Mr. Matsuoka, does this need to be passed now? Is there a time sequencing between now and the election for that?
Yes, we're under the clock
Right.
because the elections are coming up. I mean, to make that kind of change in policy, get it out, I think that's too late for this election cycle, but we could ask our legal counsel that question. I have some questions, that triggers questions about FPPC rules, and, you know, if we're fronting the money, are we now getting involved in a, you know, political donation campaign? Those are just some of my questions that I have. So I would say what's safe for the board to do is adopt this so that we can meet our timelines for the upcoming election, and we could continue to study this. I know that Ms. Tate she said we could put it on the last board agenda or this one, because the registrar of voters, they've got their whole timeline and process. So my advice is to adopt it for this election cycle, and we could continue the research.
Or could we just do a little bit more research? It'd be not hard to find out what Goleta has done, what steps they took, which I'm happy to do, and then with the goal of passing it next meeting. I just think it's worth a little more discussion, and it's also just kind of, it's just a complicated thing. Even the language is very complicated. The district shall pay the Santa Barbara County Elections Division so that no candidate, I mean, it's hard to know what we're trying to communicate. And again, I just think that we're looking to encourage more people's participation in this process, and sort of the notion that you have to upfront $5,000. Maybe it's impossible for us to do it, and maybe we don't have the budget for it, but I would like to explore that a little bit further.
Ms. Parker?
I'm wondering if we could pass it like on a contingency basis. If we've hit a deadline, I mean, you know how it is with the county, if a deadline's a deadline, but maybe we could pass it with the contingency that if it is possible to delay, that we revisit this at the next board meeting. I mean, it's a decision that we can change. And so I would suggest that we make a motion and vote on it, and then with the contingency that if it's possible to bring it back immediately, that we do so. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get a sense of my other colleagues. Is this something that you have concerns about, or you know, do you want to take a little more time? Are you fine with it as it is?
Well, having fronted the $5,000 certainly, but I just, in terms of timing, I'm inclined to agree with Ms. Parker with regards to, can we pass it on contingency, with the contingency as you would do the research, what Goleta did. And and if something came up that was then we were able to reverse our decision at the next board meeting to meet within the timeline. I would go with that.
Okay.
And that would be in the timeline if we did it in 2 more weeks?
It may or may not be. That's going to be up to what Mr. Matsuoka will need to find out.
What I would say is if the board passes it contingent on 2 things. If we can delay the mailing of it to June 12th or later, then we can just hold this in our office. And so we've got it passed. But if the deadline is coming up like May 31st, then we just need to turn it in. We'll let you know. And then if we have time to do the research, and if you want to make a revision to this resolution, we could do that at June 12th.
Well, I'm in agreement that this also would impact our fellow board member.
Right, which is important to push. I think that it's important to push it, or I feel it's important to push it when I'm not impacted financially. And so that's why I'm raising it now as opposed to what might be down the line. I just think that's, ethically, that's the right way to proceed.
I'm on board with your discussion. I'm just wondering, just because we're at the timeline, we want to be cognizant of that. So if we can have the best of both, meaning giving us time to pass it here, on a contingency basis, we have time to research, and if we can reverse it. So I'm on board with you with regards to it needs to be discussed, and if we can change it to have less of the economical impact on us than, or anyone at that point who's running. So I just think we're kind of in a catch-22 right now with the timeline at this point. But I'm on board with it needs further discussion.
Is it possible to get a legal, in terms of the research, to, I'll look into what GLEDA has done, but also to have our legal counsel, have they weighed in yet, or could they in that period?
Yeah, the initial conversation I had with Mr. Price is that districts can do this. It's a philosophical question. And then now I think the tactical question of us fronting the money and having candidates pay us the equivalent of a quarter sheet.
Right.
That's where now I have some questions to pass on to Mr. Price and say, can we be collecting money against a political process? Yeah,
So I think you raise a good question, and if we follow through with these contingencies and also the legal perspective, I think we should go ahead and pass it with the idea that we may not. So thank you, and do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move the adoption of Resolution 2017/18-48, Santa Barbara Unified School District's policies regarding candidate statements in elections for the Board of Education, with the contingency that if we can bring it back before the county election deadline, to revisit this at our next board meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Moving on to item 8, approval of declaration of need for fully qualified educators, Resolution 2017/18-53. Mr. Matsuoka.
And tonight I'm just going to relay this topic on to Ms. Peak. And she'll offer her comments and then respond to any questions. Would you like to come up to the podium?
Good evening, everyone. So every year we bring before you the application or the declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Probably about 5 to 7 years ago, the Commission on Teacher Credentialing eliminated the use of emergency credentials. The declaration of need allows a very narrow window of positions that we're allowed to have emergency credentials for, such as an emergency CLAD certificate. When most teachers come from out of state, they don't have a CLAD, so we're able to get an emergency CLAD. Emergency library services while people are pursuing their library services credential, that sort of thing. So we have to kind of provide the Commission each year a projection of what we think we might have a need for, and that is what is before you, is the projection of need. Thank you. Board, any comments, questions? All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 9, approval of application service provider agreement between the Santa Barbara Unified School District and Meadows and Associates, Inc. Mr. Matsuoka.
So with our great news of being approved as our own teacher induction program district, which is pretty rare in school district land, we are now going to be managing this all by ourselves. And so this is a software package. As I read through the details, I mean, you have teacher mentors, and then you have our first and second year teachers. And there's a lot of data that has to be collected. So this is a software environment that allows our mentors and mentees to get all their data into to one place so that we can monitor and eventually clear their credentials. Cost is minimal, it's $11,000 a year, and you received an overview. The savings for us managing our own TIP program are going to be substantial.
Yes, and I just want to acknowledge Roxana Stern and the work that she has done to ensure that this would take place. So I hope that this gets to her ears. Anyone else? Comments? Questions? All right, a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and it passes unanimously. Moving now to item 10, approval of proposal from Frank Schipper Construction?
Skipper.
Skipper.
Frank Skipper.
Gosh, okay.
Aye, Skipper.
Frank Skipper Construction Company for accessibility upgrades for the shade structure installation project at La Cuesta High School. Mr. Hetjank.
Thank you, Mr. Matsuoka, board members. At the last board meeting, the board approved the actual shade structure itself. This is the contract for the accessibility upgrades that the Division of the State Architect is requiring in association with the project. And so we're bringing it forward for your approval.
All right. Motion?
I will move approval of the proposal from Frank Skipper Construction.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Let it be noted that, well, Mr. Hedjunk has one more item not related to facilities and a couple more. This is the last time we will hear his resonant voice about facilities, and he's retiring very soon, and you met his successor, Mr. Vizzolini, but he is going to be missed. We calculated that he has overseen the construction of, what is it, $500 million roughly worth of buildings for Santa Barbara Unified, $500 million. That's a lot of buildings, so thank you for just years and years of great service.
It's been an honor to serve the district and the community, and I've worked with some really great people, so thank you. You always want to leave when it's on the up, and you have a great leadership team and great things happening, so it's a good time for me to go to my next chapter. Thank you.
All right. So, moving on. Right, did we vote on this? No, I'm losing my mind. Okay.
We voted.
So moving on to number 12, approval of tentative agreement, Santa Barbara, pardon? Oh.
11.
Number 11, approval of 2017-18 Santa Barbara Teachers Association. Of course, this is a very important one, we know. And Santa Barbara Unified School District tentative agreements. Mr. Matsuoka.
Ms. Jate, should we approve 14 and 15, the AB 1200 first, just as a point of order?
I don't know if the ratification, is this what we're discussing? I thought we had to ratify and then we approve.
Well, the union has approved. The board is now going to approve our side of the contract. I'm just asking, because we have to submit the AB 1200 to the county.
The county already has the AB 1200. They receive it 10 days before, at least 10 days before.
Okay, I didn't feel any concern from her about order. So
I don't have any concern.
Okay, so let's continue with the way it's listed in the board agenda. So number 11, we received word from SBTA that the vote was approved for our tentative agreement, and there was lots of language that we accomplished over the last 3 months. Kudos to so many people on the SBTA side and our team. We worked through, oh gosh, I'm looking at Miss Carey, was the big stipend package. That was a huge piece of work. We restructured and cleaned up some things that were changed the last contract cycle that honestly created some challenges of communication and leadership. So got that all cleaned up. The biggest is the compensation improvements, and I've heard quiet cheers from across our district, and it's important. It's just flat out important that we take care of our employees. So it's with a lot of pleasure that we bring this to you for your approval of this tentative agreement.
Board? I just want to say, to reiterate, that teachers are, well, they're the most important, really. Well, students too. But we're talking about teachers right now. So I really want to acknowledge the hard work that they do for our schools and for our school communities. So with that, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And it passes unanimously. Moving on to item 12, approval of tentative agreement between Santa Barbara Unified School District and Santa Barbara Unified non-represented employees. Mr. Het-Young.
Thank you. Traditionally and historically, the non-representative management employees have received the same base salary increase as their certificated employees, and anything above that is negotiated with the superintendent. I have the honor of being the representative for the non-representative employees, and I think they picked me because I could bring, I'm the only cabinet member who can, I'm not a cabinet member, but I can bring things to the board, and so I'm, I guess, the logical choice. But we're asking for your approval of the agreement that was negotiated with the superintendent.
Thank you.
I will move approval of the tentative, sorry, I've got to be in the right place. The agreement between Santa Barbara Unified School District and Santa Barbara Unified non-represented employees.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Het-Young. We should have some sort of music or something. Or a drum beat, yeah. Thank you very much for your service and all of your work.
Thank you.
But you're coming up to the next one.
Coming up next. Keep going.
All right,
One more.
One more. Number 13, approval of contract award for the Edible Garden Project at Lacumba Junior High School. Mr. Het-Young, for the final time.
Again, Mr. Matsuoka and board members. I brought this on the action agenda so we could thank the Audacious Foundation for their generous support of our edible gardens. The district participates in this endeavor in that we pay for the landscape architect and the contract administration and the inspection of the project, while the Audacious Foundation pays for the actual construction contract. It's a great partnership, and I want to make sure that we had an opportunity to thank them for their contribution and donation.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Parker.
So a huge shout out to Audacious because they have just been amazing. And I'm curious, where is this going to go at the Lacumba site?
This will go on the, at the end of the asphalt playground near the restroom building that the city provided a while back. I guess I would say it is on the
ocean side?
On the ocean side of the playground to the west of the PE building.
All right, I've got that exactly in my mind now. Thank you.
Mr. Rickman, can you pull up Google Maps satellite view and help us all out?
Oh, sorry.
Still have this in middle school.
I have tried to get Google to update on various things over the years, and it's always been impossible.
It will be in this area right here. Here's our asphalt playground, here's the PE building, here's the little restroom building, and it will be approximate this location.
Great. Thank you.
I'm excited about this as well. I love the edible garden at Franklin. I imagine it's going to look somewhat similar.
Yes, it'll be a fenced garden, and it'll be I think it will be slightly larger than Franklin's. And
Wonderful.
it'll be a great addition to the
And
school.
the one at Franklin looks like it would be in a top chef restaurant. It's just stunning. So this is great. I can't wait to see it. Thanks.
Ms. Parker?
Do we need to approve this? Mary. Yeah, I'll move approval of the contract award for the edible garden project at La Cumbre Junior High.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and it passes unanimously. So moving on to item 14, acceptance of public disclosure of 2018-2019 collective bargaining agreement for the Santa Barbara Teachers Association and the California School Employees Association per Assembly Bill AB 1200. Ms. Jette.
Thank you, board members. This also includes management. I don't know why it didn't say that on your, it's CTA, or SBTA, CSEA, and management. So this AB 1200 has been a requirement since about, I think we learned today, since it came out in 1990. And basically, this front sheet of the AB 1200 is the total cost over all the funds. Because I'm sure you're looking at it going, "Guy, it looks a little high," but this is the total budget and the entire cost of salaries through all of our funds. So that's 1, 12, 13, 7, or not 17, 20, 27, 28, 26, 20, all those funds. And anyone that has any people in it and is deserving of the increase. So this is like the summary, and then you show your the cost over, or the increase over the 3 years out. When I did this back in the end of April, we didn't have our 18-19 budget. We had we didn't have it approved, except in the multi-year agreement at our second interim. So that's what's required for me to do all the analysis on there. Is I take the last board-approved multi-year agreement, and so I took 18-19 and I added all of the cost in for the salaries, and then it runs through its calculation. As you can see, we still make our 3% reserve, and I give an explanation of all the things and what was included in the agreement between all the union, or all the staff members represented. And so I sent this out also about, I think it was May 10th, I sent it out in a Friday letter, under Mr. Matsuoka's Friday letter, so to give you a chance to review it. I also, at that time, sent it off to the county ed. And they did point out a few things, so this front sheet is just slightly different. I think there was, we had to make some adjustments to some of the funds because they went negative due to the increase, so we talked it over and we made some budget adjustments for that. So now it is fine. I have not gotten approval from the county yet, but they didn't have any problems with it when I first sent it. So I'm expecting a positive confirmation that we can afford this, and now we just need the board to approve the AB 1200.
Thank you. Board?
Ms. Sims-Moulton? Yeah, I just had a question between, I think I understand it, but from year 2, there's a significant small increase, and then it increases in year 3. Is that because there's a freeze in there somewhere? Or?
So when we eliminated a couple of the salaries, the ranges or the steps on the teacher salaries, if you were a 13 this year, this gets a little complicated, but if you were a 13 in 17, 18, and we got rid of 13, you remained a 13, because now you would have moved to a 14, but 14 became a 13. Okay, you following me? So those were the free, it was frozen for 4 years. So no one really increases, even though we eliminated, there are very few people that would increase right away. So they are still frozen, and that's why you see, all of a sudden, now they're in a different, now they've moved to 15 or 14. Or they've still moved to 14, but 15 is when they increase.
All right, who's on first?
Yeah, we've gone over this about 1 million times, Ann, Alan Murdoch, and myself on the whiteboard. Are you sure?
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving to number 15, recommendation for adoption of resolution number 2018/19-52 of the Board of Education of Santa Barbara Unified School District authorizing the issuance of 2018/19 tax revenue anticipation notes. Ms. Jate.
I'm going to hand this off to my Director of Fiscal, Lacey Preston.
Thank you, Lacey, for sitting out for this whole time.
Of course. Good evening, board members, superintendent, and cabinet. I am here tonight to discuss the resolution for the TRAN. Around this time every year, we do an analysis of our cash flows, both currently and in the future. During this analysis, we look at the cash that is coming in and the cash that is going out of the district. This review shows us that our cash going out is very steady, and our cash coming in only happens a couple times a year. So this creates a shortfall at the beginning of the year because we're waiting for that first chunk of property tax money to come in November. So what this TRAN does is it's basically a cash advance for the school district in order to help us meet all of our outgoing cash transactions. And so I'm here tonight to ask you to approve the resolution to have a TRAN in the amount not to exceed $10 million.
All right. Ms. Sims-Mountain.
I'm just so glad I'm here the second year around we did this, because I think we did that the first year, and I was like, what? You know, so now I get it. I just want to acknowledge I get it now. So, all right. Because I was like, oh, man.
But I watched last year, so I'm prepared.
All right, girl.
So if you have questions, I got them.
I know, it was so great to go, oh, I think I get this too. Like, I actually remember.
Yep.
Yes. And I think you asked quite a few questions that last time.
I did.
I just want to mention one thing, that we used to have a $22 million TRAN. So we've gone down quite a bit. So it's a good thing.
Kudos for that.
All right, so a motion.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. So we're going to move back to the consent agenda item number 6. Ms. Sims-Moten.
I first would want to say, you know, I'm glad to see there's a savings.
Yes, ma'am.
So the second question, what are we doing with that savings? Is it going for future costs or maintenance of any kind?
It's going back to the general fund.
Oh, all right. Okay, that sounds good. Now we only have to around 9 million. No. I move approval of this item.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And it passes unanimously. All right, moving to item K, coming events. Board, do you have any comments? I do.
Just a few.
Do you want to?
Graduation.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's all.
And I wanted to actually, we do have a lot of graduations. I wanted to just announce that the DLAC final meeting, I have requested that we provide a recognition and celebration for the ELAC and DLAC officers and the amazing efforts that they have made in their roles for the families and students in our district. And so that recognition will be taking place on Thursday, June 14th, towards the end of the meeting. So I'm really hoping that all of the board can attend if possible. It's essentially the last 30 minutes, so it'll be tentatively around 7:20. So I just wanted to put that out there. Moving on to future agenda items. So do we have any future agenda items? Board members. Ms. Capps.
Yeah, there's no time rush on this, but as the team knows, President Reed and I visited the Franklin Community Center recently, and it just is such a wonderful asset for the district, and there's so many community outreach that happens. It got me sort of wondering, and then just randomly, my mom mentioned that Harding has, coalition or partnership with Cottage, and I know that we have at La Cumbra, and talking with Dr. Ramirez, there's so much happening, but I think it would be great as board members, since we are the link to the community, to have that summarized in some fashion, not because I have any issue. In fact, it's the opposite. I think it would be great for us to know, and for the community to know, all of the resources that exist currently at our schools that interface with the community, that go beyond the traditional education. So, whether it's, I know that the food bank is at Harding. I'm just curious, other things like that. I bet there's 10 more partnerships like that I'm not aware of, and I would like to be.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea. Any other items, future agenda items? So I don't know if you guys remember a few weeks back, but I brought up the idea of a coffee with the board. And so what I wanted to just put out there is I kind of created a draft of a potential opportunity for us, and I'll send it to you, but I kind of wanted to just verbalize it. And the idea would be to kind of launch it Friday, September 14th. And actually, Mr. Matsuoka came up with the idea of perhaps, instead of having it in the district boardroom, holding it in one of the elementary schools at perhaps around 8:30 to 9:30, so for an hour duration, wherein we would have 2 board members present, and just be able to have that conversation. And we thought 8:30 to 9:30 is kind of when the coffee with the principal typically happens, so we could sort of maybe mimic that in a way, but it would be specifically with the board. The idea also would be to do this Friday, September 14th, following Friday, October 12th, and the following Friday month, obviously it's a month apart, November 16th, with the idea that if we see this as a successful, it's going to take a while to sort of get it going, but we also thought in getting the word out to that school site, we would probably have perhaps parents that would want to come, but getting it out to the community. So I wanted to just kind of put that forward and get your thoughts. That's great. Yeah. Ms. Parker?
Well, I think it's a great idea, and I think the time won't work for working parents or working board members, and so that's a concern for me. And I would appreciate it if we consider varying the time so that people with normal work schedules could actually come.
So give me some time frame.
Well, I think it'd be great to have an evening coffee, a 5 p.m. coffee or something, something that is at the end of the workday instead of during the workday. So maybe you could
alternate it.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be I don't know if we would do that on a Friday, but we could do it like a Thursday.
Cocktails, no?
Well, I'd go for that.
Decaf. Tea, hot tea.
That would have to be somewhere other than an elementary school.
So anyway, but the idea perhaps maybe then it would be Thursday, October 11th, and that would be 5:30?
Sure.
6?
Yeah. And I think it's probably better to try to do it before the dinner hour, but,
Or 5. I guess 5 to 6, and then somebody could come. But we can iron that out. I just kind of wanted to get it going and just sort of frame that. So thank you. And I did want your input, so thank you, Ms. Parker.
You're welcome.
I also wanted to just bring up, I would like to request a workshop for the board to discuss superintendent and board protocols. I think it's a great idea to revisit them after 18 months in service, and have it facilitated by a professional who could sort of help us process the discussion. One idea was to also have part of that discussion to frame the evaluation process with the superintendent, so to have that as part of the discussion as well. So the idea would be later in July or early August, perhaps a 3-hour retreat, and we can fine-tune that, but I kind of wanted to get your feedback on that.
I think that's great.
All right, I'm seeing nodding heads. Okay, so let's see, what else do I want? So thank you. We will now, our next board meeting will be Tuesday, June 12th. It'll be a regular board meeting. And I also wanted just to inform the board again that I will not be in attendance for our June 26th meeting, as I will be out of town. But of course, in my place, in my stead, Vice President Ms. Sims Moten will be taking on as acting president and running the meeting for us. So that will be an exciting thing. I'll have to hear all about it. And then moving on to adjournment, if I have an agreement of the board, then I officially adjourn the meeting. Thank you.